and welcome to First Feedback, the podcast where two friends surprise each other with a game from their mysterious gaming past, battle it out, and then you get to decide on the Twitters which one wins. Hello, Will Goldston.
Hi, Liz McCurry, how are you?
I'm very well. We've got a bit of a setup today.
Yeah.
We're on the road, so it's a bit like a travelling circus.
Yeah, we're currently sat in a hotel room. It might sound a little bit bouncy, a little bit weird.
And Will's it's not a camera, it's a microphone.
It's a microphone. This is a podcast, Liz.
It looks like...
You remember the podcast?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
When I wake up in cold sweats.
Yeah.
Have you played Metal Gear Solid 4?
No.
There's this little robot...
I can't wait to find out why it's relevant, though.
There's this little robot that follows you around. I think he's called Hal, or I don't know if that's because I'm thinking of Otacon, whose real name's Hal. But it looks like your microphone.
Okay.
He's good, though. He's a good robot.
Okay. As I explained to you previously...
Oh, I might have forgotten.
So Liz is well known for not finishing a point.
Yeah.
Do you remember how you started talking about the microphone and then just said that it looked a bit like a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my head,
Go on.
I finished the point off, and so I just assume everyone else is at that same conclusion.
Okay. But yeah, so the microphone is currently underneath a duvet, which is on top of a luggage stand. It's quite an elaborate professional setup, isn't it?
It's beautiful. This guy, look.
They can't see that, Liz. It's radio.
I know, but like that's the guy that looks a bit like the little robot.
Okay, copy that.
Can't remember his name.
Apparently not. So, for those of you unfamiliar, we will be surprising each other with a game.
Surprise!
And we'll also be telling one lie to each other.
Yeah.
Which is known as
false feedback.
And we'll have to guess what that lie is. Did you remember this week?
Yes, I did actually.
So did I.
Yay!
And is it my turn or your turn?
Yeah, it's your turn to go first this time. Did we get any forgotten feedback?
Actually, is it my turn to go first?
Yeah, it is. Because we did Silent Hill last week, and I spoke about Silent Hill for about 5 hours, and then you did your bit.
Okay.
You somehow managed to edit down to 30 minutes.
No, we didn't. We did Nightmare Creatures last week, and I went first with Worms. So it's your turn.
Oh, holy moly, really?
Yes.
Is it me?
Yeah. What you should do, little pro tip, listen to the podcast. Then you'll remember what the fuck we did.
Sometimes, though, I just, do you ever, I guess because, I did in my job, I do a lot of public speaking, or did.
Yes.
And so I just phase my own voice out. So
you just listen to me talk to no one?
Yeah, I cannot listen to me. The reason I can't listen to myself as well is because the first talk I ever did, I watched it back on YouTube and I'd accidentally set it to 1.5 times slower and spent a week mortified that I sounded like that, only to realise that...
Oh, you like this is good.
That I don't sound like that. So it's me to go first.
Yes.
Oh, I'm really surprised. I'm unprepared.
Congratulations.
What I'm presenting to you this week, Mr. Will Goldston, is the PlayStation 1 3 discs.
3 discs?
Do you remember that? When things used to be over 3 discs? Galerians of the year 1999.
It rings a vague bell, but not really, though.
Nobody has heard of this game, and it's a classic. And I think that no one has heard of this game because
they're not trying hard enough.
They're not thinking back hard enough.
Okay.
But 1999, for me, so I imagine everyone else on the planet, was a really good year for survival horrors.
Okay.
So there was Resident Evil 3, that was released on my birthday. There was Clock Tower. What else was there? What else was released? 1999 was obviously the first Silent Hill.
Obviously.
Yeah.
If you knew it.
So, obviously. So there was, first Silent Hill, Resident Evil 3, which was released on my birthday, Parasite Eve 2, do you remember that?
I remember Parasite Eve, but I don't really know what the sequels were.
Parasite Eve 2 was on my list for this podcast, but I've not done it yet. Clock Tower 2.
Spoilers.
And Dino Crisis.
Okay, yeah.
Which my sister... so my mum was never particularly supportive of games as a hobby.
Okay.
I know we're thinking of doing maybe another episode about our gaming histories, right?
In which you can talk all about your mum.
Yeah. And her love of Until Dawn. But I really wanted Dino Crisis, and my mum flat out refused. She was like, "You're not having any games." So my sister for Easter got...
None at all? She was trying to just stem the flow?
Yeah, no games, no video games. So my sister bought me a Cadbury's Cream Squeg. Do you remember them?
No.
Square Easter eggs.
No, I've never heard of that. I've had a square burger.
Really?
A squirger, if you will.
I've never had a squirger, but I've had a squeg. Oh, do you know, I love Wimpy. Whatever happened to them in the UK?
There's like about 4 left.
Love a Wimpy. And
they got bought out by Burger King. That's what happened to them. That's how Burger King got into the UK. It's not relevant. Game podcast. Go.
Sorry. And the PlayStation 1 case fits perfectly into the top of a Cadbury's Cream Squeg box. So on Easter, my sister hid Dino Crisis.
It's a Trojan Squeg.
Yeah.
Classic move.
I don't know if my mum knows to this day. Anyway, I digress. So...
Always.
Gone off on those tangents that I never finish. So Galerians was released at the same time as a lot of other very cool survival horrors. So I think, sadly, it kind of got lost.
Oh, it faded into strong competition.
Yeah, which is a shame. Should I read the back?
Please do.
Back of the box.
I'm excited.
As I always do. Galerians. The tagline of this game was, "Are you obsolete?"
Oh, that's a bit.
So, agony, madness, death. Chemicals have their side effects.
Is this written by Talk to Transformer?
Oh, yeah!
We'll be hearing more from that later on.
Our friend. Welcome to the world of Galerians, the first psychic adventure game. You excited?
I'm a little bit mystified, but please continue.
The Galerians are an this is breaking my story that I'm going to explain to you later.
Okay, go on.
The Galerians are an artificially created techno-species whose prime directive is the total annihilation of the human race.
So Terminators.
It's like a Paul W.S. Anderson film.
Yeah. Do you mean cheap?
I mean great. Earth's only... I love them.
I know you do.
Earth's only hope is Rion, which is...
is that an acronym? Is it a person?
No, it's his name. He's a person. He's a 14-year-old boy. A young man whose greatest weapon is the energy of his mind. Oh. By using PPECs, which are psychic power-enhancing chemicals, Rion is able to wage psychic war. Unfortunately, chemicals have their side effects.
Oh, so he's gone maybe a bit Psycho-Mantis.
Yeah.
The chemicals.
Yeah, we can read that you've been playing track and field on your memory card. I see you've been playing track and field.
What? Was there track and field on the PlayStation?
Well,
I know what you're referring to. You're referring to the Psycho-Mantis,
Well, in the Psycho-Mantis boss, you had to change the control around for him not to read where you were going. But if you had other Konami games on your memory card, he would read them.
Nice.
And I've been playing track and field, and he was like, "Oh, I see you like track and field." And I was like, "What? I hope he doesn't know how crap I am at it." So this is Rion, our protagonist on the front, looking like he's having a bit of a headache or a rave.
It looks like basically if you did late 90s 3D Tetsuo from Akira, right? It's a little bit of
it is actually, yeah.
Like frowning, fringed, angry. What an angry young man.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that actually, because I'll talk about it a little bit later, but after this game, Galerians actually did get an anime license as well, and had an OVA created. What's that, an original video animation, is it?
I know what you mean.
Like that, yeah. But would you like to have a look?
Yes, please.
So it's 3 discs. Disc 1 is not in there. I have no idea where it is, but disc 2 and 3 are in there.
I'm very disappointed there's no other game in here, Liz. You have broken with tradition very heavily.
It's because we're on the road.
Yeah.
So I know if I
there's no copy of Bullet Witch in here.
So Galerians.
Wait, this is 4 CDs.
There's 4 slots, but only 3 discs.
3 of them are actually placeable.
Plus
you've got your favourite, the manual.
Oh, I love a manual.
I'll have a little cheeky look through the manual.
So, yeah, this was 1999. As I said, this is one of my favourite games. This is a game that I wish there would be a remake of. There's been things that have come since, which again I'll talk about.
Sequels, you mean?
No, there was one sequel to Galerians called Galerians Ash, which, funny story, I went into Game to buy it when it came out. I think it was early 2000s, maybe 2002. And the manager at Game at the time said to me, "Oh, you're actually buying this? It's like it's been nailed to the shelves." And I remember that. Do you know, interactions you remember?
Yeah.
So this was developed by Polygon Magic. They are Japanese.
That's a great name, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
Great.
So wholesome.
Yeah.
They're a Japanese video game developer who now create games for social networking platforms like Facebook, but also Gree, which I think is like the Japanese Facebook.
Right, okay.
Could be making it up.
Yeah, probably should look it up.
Just like to assume, yeah. You don't have to be fully informed for this podcast.
I thought Gree were a publisher.
And it was published by Crave Entertainment, who are no more.
Oh, sad times.
A little bit about the talent that worked on Galerians. So let me butcher some great people's names. Satoshi Kawakami is the programmer, and he went on to work on Killer 7 and No More Heroes.
Nice.
And also another game I put on my list, Michigan Report from Hell.
As if I'm going to go, oh yeah.
which is in my mother's loft. And I was like, no biggie, I'll just order a new one so I can check it out and replay it. It's £700 on Amazon.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
You've got a nest egg.
In my mum's loft that she's probably thrown out because she's like, what is this tat?
What's it called?
Michigan Report from Hell.
Wow.
It's great.
Amazing. I'm looking forward to that in a future episode.
Yes. So
immediately on eBay afterwards.
What would you like to know about? Would you like to know about the gameplay, or would you like me to tell you the story like I like to do?
Hit me with the gameplay first, then back it up with the story, please.
Okay.
That's how we'd like to run this, mother.
So I know you've just said, but did you say gameplay?
I did.
Okay. Okay, so one of the things I liked so much about Galerians was that I'm a massive survival horror fan, as you know, and around the times I did play Resident Evil 3, I bought it with my birthday money. And Dino Crisis and Silent Hill, played all those. The big common denominator in those survival horrors, not just that they're all great, is that you have a gun. And you're firing your gun, and that's like your main weapon, and then your firepower is you just get bigger guns.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, fair dues.
Galerians was the first survival horror player that I played, apart from Clock Tower, but I played Clock Tower after, where you didn't have any firearms.
Okay.
So all you have is these PPECs, these psychic power enhancing chemicals. So the gameplay is that it's third person, like RPG-esque.
Okay.
So a bit like Parasite Eve in that
you've got a bit of an inventory of things going on.
Yes. And you have your hit points, and you have AP, but these are like anger points.
Yep, so I see.
So the way that it works is you have a thing called a B-ject that you need to inject your drugs with.
Oh, okay, right.
The story will back up why you're injecting drugs into a 14-year-old boy.
Perfect.
There was a lot of controversy about this game, actually.
Okay.
I can't remember which game it was, but I remember reading in one of the game magazines of the time, because I was obsessed with this game, that it should come with a warning, like, because it's just like promoting drug use.
A bit weird.
So you have this B-ject, and then you have a selection of PPECs that you can collect as you go around and explore the environment. And so you load these into your B-ject and you inject these into your neck, and that gives you different psychic powers. So what you would do is you would hold the trigger of the PS1, I think it was like R1 or R2.
Yeah.
And that would charge up your psychic power gauge. And then you would like hit a button to do your psychic ability, and depending on like how long you'd held the trigger down and charged it up would determine the strength of it.
Okay.
And then you could like upgrade your psychic powers. So you had Naukon, which was green, and that was like a psychic power force. Mm-hmm. You had red, which was red, and that was like pyrokinesis.
Red, which was red. Well, they really sort of ran out of effort on that one.
There was Naukon red, and there was the Felon, which was blue, and that was like you could pick people up and like psychic smash them. Okay. And then there was some that like was shared across the sequel, which was like, I think Delmator was to even you out. That's the next bit I'm going to get to. And there's this one called Osmos, where you could just draw the water out of enemies and they'd just shrivel up.
Oh, that's cool.
So a few games came later. So there was Second Sight. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
I've heard of Second Sight, but Oh, I might be getting confused with Second Son from Infamous, to be fair.
So Second Sight. I guess the Infamous series are quite relevant, actually.
Yeah, that is true.
But there was Second Sight, which was in 2004 by Free Radical.
Yeah.
And that was psychic. You were a guy, you woke up in prison, you had psychic abilities.
Yeah.
But you also had firearms. I guess the most evolved version of Galerians that you could think, like present day, would be the atoms in Bioshock.
Okay, yeah.
You kind of use all the different atoms and you'd have all different powers.
Yeah, that's true.
So the balance was that you could just spam injecting yourself with all these psychic powers and blowing shit up.
Yeah.
But if your AP got to max, you would do this thing called a short. And it would be this massive explosion of electricity. Everything would kind of go a little bit black and white. And you'd get a crazy nosebleed. Oh. And it would explode the heads of all the enemies around you. But your health would like go down.
Yeah, okay.
So it was a bit like a limit break for like a limited time. You were like extremely powerful for a limited time. So you had to take Delmator, I think it was, to bring it down. Yeah. But you could also take another drug to like whop it up. So if you were fighting a boss. So that was like the core gameplay of it. So there was third person exploration. You were like, you escaped the hospital and went running around the city.
What are you trying to achieve in this list, apart from escaping from the hospital where you've presumably been held captive? Yeah, hit me with some story.
The story is my favourite thing about Galerians. And it's the reason I like it so much. And I was totally fascinated by the story. Was
it, just a question, was it the first time you'd played something of this ilk? Because I remember being in like 95, 96, getting into like Manga Magazine and certain like bits of anime that were coming across.
When was this? Like 99, so I was like, 11, 12 if I do my really bad maths. I think I got into anime a lot later.
There's only really that type of story coming from Japan, right?
And I guess that's why it was so new to me.
Yeah.
And also sci-fi, I was never a big sci-fi kind of person. This is like the most
before
sci-fi.
You got into horror games or just not generally? Or
are you
counting horror as different to sci-fi?
I'd say horror is different to sci-fi.
Right, fair enough.
This is like super sci-fi for me. When was like System Shock and that stuff? Like the first System Shock?
Oh man, System Shock I think was 96 if I remember rightly.
So it was before this. I think, can't think of any, I think like the most sci-fi I got was like Dead Space. That's like sci-fi to me because it's in space.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, when I played Dead Space I didn't really think about that aspect. It just felt like, it could be in any environment really. Like I liked the fact that it felt like Event Horizon.
Event Horizon is one of the best films ever made in my opinion.
Absolutely, it's because it's got Dr. Alan Grant in it.
You don't need eyes where you're going.
We were talking about System Shock. And System Shock, the video game, was from 94, yeah.
94, so yeah. I think...
So a bit of early cyberpunky...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's much cyberpunkiness in Galerians, but I can definitely say it's part of that ilk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the story is... I love the story. So you wake up in this hospital in this city called Michelangelo City.
Really? Amazing.
And you have lost your memory, as is always the way.
Yeah.
Do you remember Resident Evil Gun Survivor? In fact, let me not do this. Let me just stop.
Come on. What is Resident Evil Gun Survivor?
Oh, Resident Evil Gun Survivor was incredible. It was for the PS1 with the... what was the light gun called for PS1?
I don't know. I remember playing Time Crisis with it. What is it called?
Yes. Yeah. What is it called? Yeah, I think it was the G-Con.
Yeah, the grey one with the red dot on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's G-Con, I think.
It was with that and...
The one that had Point Blank and all that.
Yeah, Point Blank was also great. And there was no saves in it. You just had to do it all in one go and it was ridiculously hard.
Wow, okay.
But the guy at the beginning, nothing to do with any of the main characters or story arcs of Resident Evil. But I just remember him getting up and going, my head, I can't remember.
Is that it?
Yeah, that was it. That was my story. Anyway, so you wake up.
Yeah, no memory.
You wake up, you've got
full-born identity.
Full-born identity. But you have this girl's voice in your head. And she's like, Rian, you need to come find me, or whatever.
Yeah.
So you're like, you know who she is. You're like, oh, that's Lilia. I better go find her. And so as the player...
I don't remember anything else, but Lilia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as the player, you're like, okay. So you wake up, you go around the hospital, and then I can't remember how you decide to inject yourself, or if you wake up with one of the chemicals
thinking,
equipped,
I've always fancied trying drugs.
Yeah.
There's some.
So this guy, so you break out of your hospital room, and this guy's like, "Hey, you get back in or whatever," and then over the security camera, you like go mental, and like blow his head up or something. Could be over exaggerating because it's been a long time since I played it and I lost disc 1. And then he's like gets blood.
Oh, you
from
actually
his
don't
nose.
know where disc 1 is?
No,
Oh,
no
Liz,
idea.
what a
It's
tragedy.
probably in the loft in Michigan.
Aw.
Report from Hell, isn't it?
Yeah. You mean at your mum's?
It's in my mum's loft.
Yeah, not in Michigan.
So then you're going out into the city and you're like, what's going on? Anyway, let me cut the long story short. Turns out Michelangelo City is being... love this story. It's like every sci-fi cliche now, but it's because it was the first one I experienced, I love it so much.
Okay.
So it turns out Michelangelo City is being run by this supercomputer called Dorothy.
Is it some kind of Dorothy Matrix?
What's the Dorothy Matrix? A dot matrix.
It's a little dot matrix joke for you. For those who remember old printers.
And
Please
Reboot.
continue. Yeah.
Dot Matrix. Maybe that's why they did it. But yeah, she's
I
called
sincerely
Dorothy.
doubt that.
And so she has been created to like run the city. But she gets a bit of a god complex because she sees like
They
war
always
on...
do.
Well, she sees war on the TV.
Oh. So it's a bit like War Games.
What's that?
Do you remember War Games? So War Games was a 1985, maybe? I'm going to get that wrong. It's probably 84. Mid-80s movie with basically a supercomputer that could simulate nuclear war. And it was all about Matthew Broderick, who was a young kid.
Matthew Broderick in 1984. How old was he?
He was like 16, 17.
I thought he was like my age.
It was like a couple of years before Ferris Bueller, that kind of.
Oh, nice.
Kind of time. And basically, it's all about how he is grappling with this computer at this facility, and they're like, "Oh, this kid's managed to." So basically, I think it sends out like a signal to anyone who's got a computer and tries to get them to play this game with them.
How have I never watched this?
It's great, and then he goes in, and then basically. If you've ever heard the quote, the only way to win is not to play.
Yeah.
That's from War Games. That's
No
what the computer
way.
tells them at the end, where it simulates like a million different ways of like basically Russia versus US firing nukes. And then it's just this like, do you want to play a game? And then he's like playing this nuclear war thing against the computer. And it's brilliant. And then it ends with it just being like, no, like don't play. It's like that whole spate of like Red Dawn and like a bunch of different films that are around like the Cold War aspect of like, well, what would happen if something did go off?
That sounds amazing.
War Games.
I need to watch that. I need to watch that for sure. So that's what happens in Galerians. No, I'm kidding, it doesn't. So yeah, she's watching war on TV. I don't know if she's exposed to war somehow.
And not a fan.
She is.
Uh-oh.
So she starts saying, if you can all kill each other, like what makes you good enough to kill each other? Like I'm good. I'll just kill you.
Oh.
So she gets a bit of a god complex.
Nice.
And so the doctors that made her, do doctors make computers? I'll get a bit worried.
Yeah, the old programming doctors.
Yeah, those are programming doctors.
Yeah.
They get a bit worried and they're like, oh, might have made a mistake here. So what they do is what any sensible programming computer doctor would do.
They take the floppy disk out and they pop it in the fire.
They put the deactivation codes for the computers as an implant in their firstborn children's brains.
What?
Yeah.
Is that your first feat?
No, it's absolutely not.
No.
Fast forward a few years.
Yeah, bish bash bosh.
Bish bash bosh. Dorothy's been working on it.
Been working on what? Killing everyone?
Yeah, so she starts making her own army called the Galerians.
Oh, okay.
Which are a race of people. I'll get on to how they're made.
Is it programming doctors?
The programming doctors have nothing to do with how the Galerians are made.
Oh, okay.
So they are created by Dorothy with the capacity to hold these psychic power enhancing chemicals to like wipe out humans. So they're like her version of humans to take out humans.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, it's like Skynet making the Terminators.
Yeah.
If thou wouldst.
Did it see what I mean? It's like you have referenced so many things.
I was just smashing together like 10 films.
Yeah, but this was like my first exposure to this kind of thing. The story blew my mind and I loved it.
It's great.
Yeah, so she makes these Galerians. You wake up in hospital. You can hear this woman's voice in your head. You're like, what's going on? You can hear Lilia. Turns out you're the kid of the programmer doctor. So you've got one of the deactivation codes in your brain.
Okay.
Lilia is the daughter of other doctor. She's got the other deactivation thing in her brain.
Are they paired codes? Do you have to, or they just
you have to be there together.
Oh, right. So it's like turning the key at the same time.
Yeah, you have to both be alive and there to do it.
Got it.
So, long story short, let's, get to the good bits. Turns out, Dorothy, supercomputer, killed your family.
Oh, bastard.
Always does it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Kills your family. Kills your family, takes you.
Yeah.
Makes you into a Galerian. The way that she does that is, the way that Galerians are made is she takes normal people, kills them, and then downloads their memories into a cloned copy, like a cloned body that's like been genetically enhanced to be able to take the psychic power enhancing chemicals. So that your old body's dead.
So he's not him anymore.
No.
He's a fresh body with his brain imported.
Downloaded. Yeah. And it didn't work very well because it's a bit corrupted and you can't remember who he is.
So you just lose like an old VHS or like a zip disc or something.
Yeah. And the reason that you've got this telepathic connection is because Dorothy's using you to try and find Lilia so that you can kill her. So that obviously you can't do the deactivation code.
Yeah.
But he remembers Lilia, their childhood friends, think they're probably a bit more, and then, you take down Dorothy. But at the end, a cool bit was that you go into the mushroom tower where she lives.
Run that by me again?
The mushroom
tower.
That's where she lives.
Have you diverted into Mario? What are you on about, mushroom tower?
Princess in the castle.
Is that just what it's called?
Yeah, it's like the main hub where she lives.
In a city?
Right in the middle. It's a really, really long lift ride up.
Okay.
And your other clone's up there.
Oh. Wait, you said it was dead, or what are you talking about?
Well, she made 2 copies of you just in case the first one failed.
Oh, cheeky backup.
Yeah, cheeky backup.
Nice.
Cheeky backup. And he's really pissed off that you were the first clone that got to go on the mission.
Well, of course.
Like, normal...
Nobody wants to be the B team.
Well, he's the backup.
Yeah. Benny backup.
And, just to make it more obvious that he's the angsty backup, he's like goth.
Does he look like him, but he's all gothed up?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Classic.
Exactly the same. Totally like leather clad, black eyeliner.
Evil goth twin.
Yeah. Yeah, you take him down, go blow up Dorothy.
Oh.
It has a really good ending shot where it kind of pans away, like back into the building, and so you see the whole city destroyed, and you see the 2 main characters from the back, and she's like got Rion, the main guy, on her shoulder because he dies at the end.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, he shorts out and dies.
Oh, wow.
And so, it just kind of pans away and she's like cradling him while he like dies kind of thing. And it's just a really nice like shot end of game thing. But don't worry, there's a sequel. She downloads his memories into something and brings him back in the future or something.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So I really loved the story.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. So it got an anime license. And originally the anime was aired on MTV in 2004. And the soundtrack featured Slipknot, Fear Factory and Godhead.
Nice. Full new metal.
Yeah. So basically they released it on DVD as a full thing, not in separate parts.
They call it a series.
A series. And it just was basically, it just showed the story of the first one, but in like as an anime.
Got it.
And then a lot of the scenes from it were used in the sequel, Galerians Ash, as like flashbacks and things.
So did they have like FMV of the actual anime?
Yeah.
Or did they just recreate it?
No, they used the FMV from the actual anime in there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was dead good. And so I just loved it a lot. And the thing that I loved the most about it was the story. It's like probably one of my favourite game stories ever, to be honest.
It's very cool.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, because I wasn't playing... You'll find out what I was playing shortly.
Is it the same year?
It's not the same year at all. But I carried on playing games of a similar ilk. But yeah, I didn't have a PlayStation at that time. I was still on PC. Yeah, I was still on PC. Around 2000. Yeah, and I was playing more... Well, you'll see shortly. But yeah, so I was never exposed to like all of the Japanese side of gaming that came across in PlayStation that didn't really come... Well, I suppose it was obviously, Nintendo's Japan, but there was a lot of just like more interesting adult-oriented stuff that was coming across, from sort of 97 onwards, I guess.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
95 onwards, really. But yeah, I just didn't get exposed to that. I always found it really interesting to see a lot of that. I was reading Games Master and CBG and all of those things from like mid-90s gaming magazines. And I always it was always like a bit of a hidden world to me.
But now you've had a cheeky peek.
But yeah, it's very, very cool. Galerians.
Galerians, yeah, and no one's heard of it. You say, like, tell me a great survival horror game, and no one ever mentions Galerians, and it's great.
Also getting mixed up in the head with Valerian.
Yeah.
As in the French
film.
Anime turned film. That bombed.
Oh, was that an anime before?
Yeah, it's really old.
I didn't realise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I tried to research what the origin of Galerians meant, because Rion is, you're French, you can say it better, but is it noir? Is that how you say it? Like what? Black backwards?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
So I thought maybe that was some relevance or some kind of...
I think they're just trying to be arty.
Yeah, and so I wondered if Galerians was some kind of French take on... But I couldn't find out what it meant. So I think it is just kind of like a funky word.
Yeah.
And I'd not heard of it. The reason that I got hold of it was because I'd just finished Parasite Eve 2 and I did a swap with my friend at school. And he was like, play Galerians. And I was just like, what is this? And it was just great.
Super cool. And totally failed to guess your false feedback.
You know what the false feedback was?
Right.
Something that you were really impressed with, so I felt quite proud. There is no psychic power enhancing chemical called osmos that sucks the moisture out of people. Would be good though, wouldn't it?
That would be brilliant. Yeah. Liz McCurry bringing the game mechanics. That'd be great.
But yeah, that is Galerians.
I was picturing the bit, is it X-Men 2, where Magneto uses like a little bit of metal in that guard's uniform or something to escape from like, they're keeping him in that bubble plastic thing, and then he's just used like either like his fillings or something to like wrench it out of him and kill him. It's wicked.
I don't remember that.
Before The Last Stand, and they all got shit.
I thought you were going to mention the bit where the man goes all liquidy and goes through the bars.
Oh, God, yeah, the politician guy.
Yeah.
And he's turned into a bit of a fish man.
No.
That haunted me, that thing.
Oh, it did me. Wasn't expecting it.
It was weird CGI. So, Liz, I failed to get your false feedback, but such is life. I am going to present to you one of my all-time favourite games, I think very influential game that redefined a genre, and that genre is real-time strategy.
Ooh!
Now, in 1992, a little company called Westwood Associates released Dune 2.
Dune 2?
Mm-hmm. A real-time strategy game that was what would probably be heralded as the grandfather of that genre.
Yeah.
In its kind of like actually selecting units and moving them and doing things. And Westwood Associates was founded by Louis Castle and Brett Sperry, and they'd made all kinds of games over like the preceding sort of 10 years. Just loads of different stuff for PC, lots of different strategy games, fantasy games, role-playing games, all kinds of stuff, even just like contract work for like educational games and stuff. Did tons of stuff. And then when Dune 2 was successful, I think around that time, they were acquired by Virgin Games.
Ah, yeah.
Which was obviously quite a big publisher at the time. Virgin as in Rich Branson Virgin, of Virgin Records fame. And so Dune 2 was obviously related to the Frank Herbert sci-fi novel.
I was going to ask that, yeah.
Of the same name. And they basically were quite successful with that. And this was around the same time that you had like the first Warcraft, if you remember that.
Yeah.
As in Blizzard, which was great, but Warcraft 2 was better, obviously. So what they wanted off the back of that success was really to kind of take their success from that and all the things that they'd learned and all the things that they'd wanted to do and bring it to their own IP and make up something new. Ooh. So I'm going to reach into my magical bag.
Magical bag.
And unveil.
Oh my gosh, look at the box.
1995's Command and Conquer.
Do you know, Command and Conquer, I've had I've seen the box a million times. I've had people say, you should play Command and Conquer. I've never seen it in action or know anything about it. So this is an educational time for me.
Let me regale you, Liz. So Command and Conquer is, I think, very easy to call genre defining in that a lot of the conventions that they set up for real-time strategy have just carried all the way through and are still probably the best parts of that genre even till today.
Is this a strategy guide that you got free with a magazine?
Yeah. This is big box PC. I'm just going to take all the parts out. So it's got 2 CDs.
Yep.
Liz has already identified and snaffled the
PC
Gamer Survivor's Guide. How to win at it with tips for every mission. That was a Virgin sponsored little thing that they released.
That's amazing.
And I got my hands on. Obviously I've got the manual and a bunch of other junk that's in the box, how to install it. So there's a lot to unpack, literally and figuratively, with Command & Conquer. It's a very deep game and it had a lot going on. So they went all out from their sort of June 2 success to bring you, as it says on the back of the box, world domination in a box.
Wow.
From Westwood Studios, so they changed the name from Westwood Associates to Studios. The award-winning time behind June 2 Battle for Arrakis. So it was all about, I'll give you the story and then I'll tell you how the game plays out.
They're good.
It was all about these two warring factions. So, Liz, you know aliens, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know meteorites?
No.
You're not familiar with meteorites?
Like a faction or the actual things in
the
space?
The actual real things.
Oh, then yeah.
So, meteorites crash land on Earth and they're containing this alien substance called Tiberium.
Is this the plot of this?
This is the plot.
I didn't realise it had anything like that in. I just thought it was like, your war game.
No, it's wicked. Hold on. Meteorites coming down.
If I'd have known this, that's not on the box. If I'd have known that, I'd have played it.
Just checking the box. You're right, it's not.
Just a little note about the box. Sorry to interrupt you.
Go on.
It looks like something you would see on a shelf today. It doesn't.
Yeah, it looks. Yeah, it's very like the front of the box. Do Google Command and Conquer box art, but basically it's a soldier with goggles on, and then in the goggles is composited chaos. Like absolute war chaos going on. But it's quite stylized and has this sort of brush steel over the top of the rest of the photo. It's in black and white.
Looks cool.
It's cool as fuck. I love this game so much.
Well, I didn't know there was aliens involved.
Well, they're not really involved. So let me finish that bit. So meteorites come down and they spread this stuff called Tiberium, and it turns out to just be this currency or this like resource that they can mine and turn into fuel and whatever energy. So there's then two factions that are kind of battling to monopolize the world's supply of Tiberium, as it says there. Now, there's two sides, Global Defense Initiative and the Brotherhood of Nod. And Global Defense Initiative, otherwise known as GDI, which I'll henceforth be saying because I keep tripping over it. GDI! It's basically like a UN-funded like military force. Brotherhood of Nod.
Don't trust any brotherhoods.
Exactly, and you're right to. They're always a terrorist
the bad
cult.
Guys. Always the brotherhood of whatever. Always evil.
Yeah. So they are. Yeah, they're trying to monopolise that supply, and GDI may be peacekeeping and trying to make sure that there's like a fair distribution of this new currency, right?
Aww.
Yeah, bless them.
I know.
So they're at war, and you're in control of a campaign. There's 2 CDs. One campaign is on each CD. So depending on, you do this in, like, I'm actually going to backtrack to the install process. That's how much I love this game. The install process, you put the CD in and it starts up this whole like top secret computer system.
That's cool.
And it's got all these little like progress bars and like an actual voiceover for everything that it does. It's like initiating install process, like doing all of this stuff.
So good.
It's so good. And you go through all these things, and they sort of keep up the pretense of it being like you becoming the commander. It's not like, install this to C DOS /CNC. It's like, you're installing this thing and you're now like activating command module or whatever. So it opens up the menu and then you start, and then it basically says like, right, which side are you on? And you're like,
so it's not a different side but by CD.
Oh, it is, but you then have to put the CD in. But it's basically literally the game from then on is you're that side. Yeah. And if you want to start it completely from scratch, you can start a whole new, new game, whatever. But you play through the campaign. You don't play both sides. You play one at a time.
That's wicked.
And the best thing about it, and I think anyone who's played Command & Conquer games or the sequel Red Alert, which was 96, will tell you it's all about the FMV.
Okay.
The FMV, they basically decided we're going to have this game. You can do base building. You can build bases that spawn units. So like, soldiers, tanks, aircraft, whatever. Yep. But to tell the story, they wanted to use FMV. And they started out being like, we can just have like voiceovers. But then they decided they would actually do some tests and film stuff. So they just had like a little spare room in their studio where they're like, actually, we can just green screen everything in here.
What?
So they'd hired this guy to direct the voiceovers.
Was it Steven Spielberg?
It was not. I'm going to butcher his name, so I'm just going to go back to my notes. And his name was Joseph D. Kukan. And he was a voice acting director. And because he was so good at what he was doing, they basically cast him as the main bad guy.
Amazing.
Because, and it's great, he's bald and has a little goatee. So he looks like a bit of a thug, Ming the Merciless.
Yep.
And he's great. And he's just this amazing bad guy.
What's the bad guy called?
He's called Kane.
Ooh, that's quite a bad guy.
Strong, right?
So it is a strong...
and so you start out the campaign in the Brotherhood of Nod with this guy. He's got some average name. I can't remember what it is. Just like Evan or something. It's just this guy who's telling you what to do. And you're like, oh, okay. But then like a couple of missions in, Kane just comes along and just shoots him in the head and just like takes over. He's like, hi, I'm Kane. Blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, okay, Kane's in charge. Like, you don't mess with Kane.
Oh, my gosh.
And so Kane is always just kind of like playing off all of these figures, but it's all like really beautifully cheesy CG, like cutscenes between everything. I almost wonder if you might have seen them like through memes or something else, but it's great.
Was it all CG or was some of them like real actors?
Oh, no, it's all acted, but with CG backdrops in green screen.
So good. I wish that they would...
It's like, did you ever play like a Wing Commander or any of those sort of like mid to late 90s CD-ROM or PlayStation games where you had a bit of acting in the mix and then it would go back to the game?
My most famous, I don't know if you've seen it, is the intro to Resident Evil 1 on PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
Where it has all the live actors, but yeah, there's CG in the background, they're running towards the mansion that's in CG, and the helicopter flies away, that's CG, but it's all the actors.
Yeah.
Then it goes, Chris Redfield, and they all do a pose.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I digress.
No, yeah, exactly. So it's that kind of era of like FMV, full motion video.
I miss that.
Yeah, it's great.
It is.
And,
really
and the thing is, it's so different to the actual game art that it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's almost like, did you ever play Modern Warfare?
No.
So in like the thing I was going to reference is in Modern Warfare there are like some missions where you're playing as a drone commander or like a bombing commander, and then you get this kind of like night vision black and white thing of where you have to sort of aim the shots to like take out targets or whatever. But the thing I liked about that was that it felt so removed from the rest of the game that it felt like a sort of a meta layer on top of it.
Yeah.
And that, for me, that's how CNC works, because you've got like this ridiculous story, and I think like Tim Curry is in one of the sequels
really?
as well. Yeah, he's great.
That's so good.
And so you get all this ridiculous stuff, and the CG that they used for the models of like how the bases would build and animate.
Yeah.
A lot of that was used in much higher res in the cutscenes. So you'd get like a clip of like the commander being like, oh, this is happening. And then they would picture it as if it was like a news clip where he's talking in there. And then the rest of the screen was the CG of like, a plane bombing something or something like that.
That's cool.
It was really like well done. Like if you contrast that CG and the level that they had with like the cutscenes for Worms, which was obviously done, pretty much exactly the same year, but on a presumably much smaller budget than Westwood had. It's really impressive. And so you'd have a cutscene, it would tell you like the context of the mission you're about to play, and then you're straight into this thing. All the buildings, like I said, were like CG frames turned into sprites to sort of like, you animate a base sort of builds and forms. And then on the right-hand side, you have your mini-map, top right, and then you have all of your different units going down the right-hand side, and you can build stuff. select your units, put them in squads, like Control 1, Control 2, move them around and fight this thing. And it was just like, you had those sort of CG designed bases, and then everything else, like the units, and well, some of the units were CG style, but a lot of them were just pixel drawn and animated sprites. And then all of the environment was all tiled sprites, but it was just beautifully done. I mean, I'm showing you the back of the box right now.
The back of the box.
But
I have not mauled the box yet.
Yeah, no, it's pretty meticulous, but it's like everything from like build a base to have like plan a real full assault, and they've already established their bases, and you really have to like think it through, and maybe it'll take you a few tries to actually figure out a good strategy, down to like escort missions where you've got like a few soldiers and like a truck, and you've got to get them across past these defenses. And yeah, it's...
When was this? 92?
This was 95.
95. The FMVs look great.
Yeah, it's quite surprising.
It looks super nice. You can tell it's like a high budget.
Yeah, I guess it probably was like a pretty high budget thing at the time. You know, you think this was up against what else was around then. So 96 was Quake. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Worms was 95.
Large, sumptuous and detailed realizations of all military hardware. A powerful soundtrack, eerie atmospherics and musical styles including rap, hip-hop and rock.
I'm glad you've mentioned that, Liz. I really have to talk about the music. So the music was amazing. Like, award-winning good. And it's a mix of like rock, metal, sort of 90s hip-hop and a bit of like industrial vibe.
Like Trent Reznor.
Well, funny you should say that, because it beat the Nine Inch Nails soundtrack to win a couple of awards.
Really?
It's really good. Like, it's by this guy called Frank Klepacki, and he has, like, I watched it on YouTube the other day. He has a band and still plays the music from this and the sequel.
Really?
And they're called Frank Klepacki and the Tiberian Sons. And they're called that because the sequel to this is called CNC Tiberian Sun. But I'll explain what went wrong and the development in a sec. But the music is amazing. You should definitely look it up. It's just this...
His name's familiar to me.
Maybe. It's possible. He's done lots of other soundtracky things. But yeah, it was just like a real highlight of the game. Like, I think that game with just average music really wouldn't have been the same thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think that of many games, honestly. Which, you know, I'm not to say I'm discounting music, but it's like, yeah, it's just really good. Like, yeah, whenever I think of like playing a strategy game, I just have that like all
I need
of the
to listen to
music in it.
I need to listen to it to get in the zone of it.
Proper great.
So the music was good, the big world was good, the FMVs were good. Like, what was that? So it says on the back, 60 minutes of vividly rendered cinematic presentation.
Yeah.
But how...
That's your cutscene FMVs.
How many hours was the gameplay? So if it was over 2 discs...
Oh, it's a long-ass game. Like, there's a lot to it. And then you've got, you know, multiplayer. So you could play...
I saw that here.
You could play with a modem, and you could play up to 4 players, which was quite a big deal. Because if you think about, like, a strategy game, you know, the map's reasonably big, and, you know, it's got to run all of those units and do that over a network. So this was quite a big deal for the time.
Definitely.
They brought out, like, a gold edition of this, I think... like a few months later even, like they churned it out, but like the gold edition had internet play. So this was, you remember when we looked at Worms and the box was like play over the internet.
Yeah.
And it was like a big deal. They upgraded this to run over IP as well. So yeah, that was pretty awesome. And the one of the best things about the gameplay, just to come back to that, is that the units on each side were different.
Okay.
So you didn't just get like, this is this soldier and this is this soldier. They shared like a couple of things, like they both had a machine gunner or something. Yeah. But apart from that, like GDI had machine gunners and then engineers and a couple of other things. But then if you were playing, I think I'm getting this the right way around, one side had grenade guys and the other side had bazookas, and then like you had to mix and match, and they had different abilities.
That's cool.
So you had to get used to playing as each side, which was really cool. And this went all the way up to like base defenses, like the Brotherhood were kind of like a bit of like a, you know, G.I. Joe Cobra kind of style, like a bit sci-fi weapons. They had this amazing thing called the Obelisk of Light, which was basically, so you can see their logo is a scorpion tail.
Yeah.
So they had this scorpion tail base, or like building, and it would basically sort of light up to the top. So imagine like a little sort of angled thing sticking out of the ground, sort of like polygonal. And then the light would flash and it would laser like electrocute someone and then turn to a little skeleton and then get
really
fried.
Cute.
It was adorable and awesome all at the same time.
How did you upgrade that? Like, how did it work?
Well, it wasn't really like that. It was like, if you think this is like the origin of that type of gameplay, there wasn't like base upgrades or skill upgrades to it. You basically got to a different level by getting more money and progressing through the game. So
you could build like more bases and more
so basically if you wanted to build the Obelisk of Light, the laser tower, you had to first be able to afford like some technology center. Technology center would then allow you to unlock the ability to build this thing. So it's kind of like if you do this, then you do that, and then you do that.
I wish I'd known about this, because this is so my kind of thing.
Yeah, and it was out on PlayStation 1. I think I actually played it a bunch around my friends on PlayStation 1 before I got it on PC, which was kind of cumbersome compared to obviously mouse and keyboard for selecting things. But it was really popular on PlayStation as well. Also on Saturn.
Yes, Sega Saturn.
And just like you referenced last time with the N64, I think it was Nightmare Creatures you were talking about.
Yeah, but they didn't have FMVs.
Exactly. Yeah. Same deal here. Lost all of its charm because they just had to put in stills with voiceover.
But it had our guy.
Big one?
Our guy with his voiceover, Kane.
Yeah, Kane. Yeah. Kane's still there, sure. But yeah, not great on the N64. Though they did do something interesting with the N64 was to remake all of the base models with polygons instead of like sprite bits. It's really really odd. Yeah, so sort of playing to its strengths.
They put a lot of like
there's a lot of love in this game.
And so Red Faction came after.
No, you're thinking of Red Faction, the series.
Red Alert came after.
Red Alert came after.
And was that PS2?
No, Red. Oh,
I think I'm getting it mixed up with Red Faction.
Yeah.
With the grenade on the front with the hand, wasn't it?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's Red Faction, yeah.
That's what
I played Red Faction Guerrilla on 360. That was a great game. But yeah, so Red Alert was the sequel, 96. I don't want to talk too much about that because I might do that at a later date because I love it.
I feel like the box doesn't do the game justice. Because I would look at this on the shelf and be like, oh, that's a first-person shooter. I'm not going to play that.
But there weren't many at the time.
Yeah,
the only thing you really had was Doom, and then Quake came the year after this.
Yeah, you're right.
So this was up against...
Don't judge a game by its cover.
Like Warcraft 2, if you remember. Was it Tides of Darkness? But so basically, they were like... This was like a booming year of like real-time strategies, like now a thing. Like a major genre. And so... you were either being like I was playing both, and then after that came a game called Total Annihilation, which took it to like a much grander level.
Yeah.
It was like polygonal everything pretty much, and you had like particle systems and stuff that you really didn't see in these games. But yeah, Red Alert was an amazing sequel. Like I'd even argue that it's it's obviously a bit more advanced. Like the graphics were a little bit better. I think you had higher res graphics in Red Alert. But the story, they just carry on and just went even more bonkers with it.
Yeah.
So basically, if you look in the manual for Command & Conquer...
Do the aliens ever come down?
I can't remember. I don't think that is referenced. But in the back of the manual, and this is bold, right? Last page of the Command & Conquer manual, it says, want more? Command & Conquer 2, Tiberian Sun, coming soon.
Oh, wow. So the first one's not even out.
So
the first one's just out.
They were like... Okay, we've got a hit on our hands. Let's just promo the next one in the back. It's like James Bond will return.
Holy moly.
And unfortunately, that isn't what happened.
Why?
So what they decided... Yeah, please. What they decided to do was to go with something a bit more familiar. So they went with a World War II setting.
Oh, right.
But being Westwood and being, these two guys, well, the main leads of the studio, Louis Carson, Brett Sperry... were a little bit bonkers, and so they went with a narrative, still with all the FMV, where Einstein had gone back in time and killed Hitler.
I would say that this was your false feedback, but I've heard this before.
Okay.
Is it your false feedback?
No, it's not.
I was going to say I've heard it before.
It's true. Anyway, so I'm just checking my notes for Red Alert details. Apologies. Yeah, that's what it says. Okay, cool. Didn't get it wrong. So Red Alert was this alternate history. But at some point, our mate, Kane, pops back up. And then you're like...
Oh, what is he doing?
Wait a minute. He's been alive. How old is he? What the hell's going on? So you had this kind of like weird prequel before they then went on to make Tiberian Sun, which was like a long-awaited sequel to this. Now, unfortunately, Liz, you're thinking, great, 2-hit games.
Yeah.
The third probably right around the corner. They hit a rough patch because Virgin Games had started to piss money and they had to sell off all of their assets, including Westwood Studios. And that's when they got acquired by EA.
Oh, no way. I didn't know that.
So, yeah. And then it basically took them, like they were doing a bunch of stuff with the engine and all this kind of stuff. Took them a really long time to get Tiberian Sun out, which was always like this holy grail because everyone who loved and bought the first game looked in the back of the manual and was like, there's basically, if you look at the back of this page, there's a picture of this mech and you're thinking, oh my God, this is some next level shit. So you're like, I love everything in Command & Conquer. They're up in the tech to mechs. And this was like, 95, 96 was like the era of mech games. If you're a PC player, Mech Warrior and games like that were like ruling the roost. So you're thinking, great, a real-time strategy game where I've got mechs. Get in. Awesome.
Oh, people will have been like clinging on to this back page.
They were.
Just wishing for Christmas morning.
A year, exactly. So it took them quite a few years after that. I think maybe even 2000. I forget when Tiberian Sun came out. But I digress entirely. We're talking about CNC. Did
it have mechs in it in the end?
Tiberian Sun did, yeah.
Was it great?
No, it wasn't. It didn't live up to the years of expectation. That was the sad thing about it.
That makes me sad because it was clearly a lot of promise, a lot of talent, and it
wasn't terrible.
Falling on hard times, clearly.
Yeah, I think it just set them back somehow. CNC, the original, as we call it, and Red Alert were the shit. And they had a couple of expansion packs and things. They were just really good.
I'm really annoyed I've never played this because it looks great. Can I just also, sorry, I keep interrupting like I usually do. You know what a fan of manuals I am.
Yes.
This is one of the best manuals I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's highly detailed.
Oh, it's
the best thing about
incredible.
It is it starts out as like...
starts with a quote from Kane, actually.
Yeah, please read.
We have waited centuries for this moment. Bit posh. The rivers will flow with the blood of those who oppose us.
Yeah, so it's a little hint to it being like an ancient cult. But where's the thing that I'm thinking of? It says, field manual, confidential on the first page of the manual.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
It is perfect. It's so beautifully laid out. It's so beautifully written. There's like frequently asked questions in the back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's got all the units rendered in CG in like high def.
Not only.
So you can get really into it.
Oh, it's just... This is He does not look happy about being on grenade infantry.
Yeah, there's a picture of the guy who is grenade infantry.
is not happy.
And by the way, these are all just guys from the studio dressed up.
I love that.
The only person who had any acting training was the guy who ended up playing Kane. So these are all
That's the same
these are
guy.
all programmers, yeah.
So the grenade infantry and the rocket infantry are twins.
Yeah. And the engineer was great, by the way. Engineer is just a guy who you can, no weapons, but you send him into a building and he takes it over. So if you want to take over their turret or whatever, you just send this little guy in and he's great. And also another amazing thing is the voice acting for the units. So when you select them, they do a little bark.
Aww.
And obviously we work in an engineering heavy industry.
Yeah.
Whenever someone says that word to me, I just hear the words engineering. Affirmative. Like every time you click on him, engineering. Love it. And they've all much like how I said about Worms, and how it's like it's a military basic sort of game, but imbued with a lot of charm and personality thanks to the characterizations.
Yeah.
You felt like the soldier, the engineer, even the tanks and the ships, all of the little barks you got back from selecting them, had that kind of thing. And Warcraft 2 did the same thing. So there was like all of the orcs would have a little like every time you ordered them to do something.
That's dead good.
So this was a golden age for real-time strategy. It really came into its own.
I'm sad I missed it, actually.
Yeah, you should be. One of my favourite bits, I mentioned there's like escort missions and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a secret level called Command and Conquers where it pulls in and you've got two soldiers playing Conquers with a little pixel.
Oh, that's
so
cute.
good. So good. And then, like I said, there's tanks, there's flying units. You've got like these like hover helicopters, like a helicopter does. That's not what it. Anyway, but like these
hovercraft.
Yeah, like these just futuristic designs for aircraft mixed in with like familiar aircraft, like like an A-10 bomber or whatever.
So the EDI were your familiar
GDI.
stuff. GDI.
Yeah, they
I'm
had
thinking
the
of
more
Earth Defence Force. Sorry.
Yeah, you are.
Whereas the Brotherhood are like the futuristic kind of, yeah.
Yeah, so they had like the flame tank and all of this other stuff.
Was the Scorpion thing your false feedback?
No.
Anyway, carry on, sorry.
No, that's basically it. I love this game very, very deeply. It was clearly by a studio that loved that genre and wanted to take it to the next level. And they really delivered. It's got 94 out of 100 on Metacritic.
Nice.
It came out on DOS, Windows, Mac, PS1, Saturn, and N64. And by 2009, it had sold 30 million copies.
Holy moly.
Yep. And I think EA actually released it for free at some point. So I think you can just get it on Origin. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure you can just get it. It's a wonderful game.
I'd like to play
and
it.
I think they announced in 2018 that they are remastering it. Like,
Will
just
you be getting it?
Oh, yeah, of course. In a heartbeat.
That's really
Love
good.
Command & Conquer.
I wonder what the peeps are doing now. Do you know?
Well, I think they just sort of dispersed into bits of EA and other places.
Mm-hmm.
You know, CNC went on through several sequels. There were sequels to Red Alert. I think there were 3 sequels to Red Alert.
Nice.
There was Command & Conquer Generals. There was Command & Conquer Renegade, which was a one-off first-person shooter where you played as one of the commandos. There was a whole bunch of stuff they did with the franchise, but it never really recaptured it. And then recently it came to like web and mobile, and people were kind of, you know, a bit mean and just sort of said, yeah, we don't care about that anymore.
What?
Yeah, I think it sucks, but it's a shame.
It seems like the kind of thing that would have its own comic as well or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because it's quite cheesy, right? But it's like, it just fit that style of FMV stuff at the time. And I'll show you some of this. I highly recommend everybody listening YouTube some of the FMV because it is hilarious and cool and cheese-tastic.
So I was listening to, I was watching PlayStation Access recently, and they do this Friday feature thing. And one of the Friday features that I watched recently was 7 things that we used to do before the internet.
Go on.
What was it? Something like 7 things we used to do with games before the internet.
Right.
And one of them was these strategy guides that you had in the box.
Oh, yeah.
Where you would get them on the front of magazines in a newsagent, and it would just have all of the cheat codes, all of the walkthroughs. Because unless your friends knew, you just had
There's no way.
Yeah. I've got so many of these again in my mum's loft.
I'm sure I've got a few for the LucasArts games as well.
Yeah.
Like, how the hell do you do something in Monkey Island? Like, no idea. So, yeah, it was absolute dynamite. Now, Liz, you seem to have failed to guess my false.
It wasn't the alien thing, was it?
No, it's all about Tiberium, hence the name of the sequel, Tiberian Suns. Tiberian Sun, sorry.
Let me think. So Kane's real, that's real, the scorpion tail lightning thing's real. June is real.
I can't believe you're not getting it. It's so good.
Is it good? Is it obvious?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's Command and Conquers, where 2 soldiers play a game of Conkers against each other.
Oh, well, when you said Command and Conquers, I thought it was going to go where Conkers from Conker's Bad Fur Day is like a playable character.
I thought about doing that. I thought that was going to be really obvious.
So when that was what was in my head, and then you said 2 guys playing Conkers, I was like, fine.
That's normal. 1 pixel, little conker there swinging around.
Video games.
Weird enough.
Love having those little things in there, right?
Yeah,
that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. So, Liz, it's around this time that we talk to our friend Talk to Transformer.
Yes.
Which I'm doing right now for you.
Okay, so
and
Galerians.
I've typed in Galerians, and I've gone with the plural. Galerians
yeah, that's true.
are.
Yeah.
And, okay. I shouldn't have started reading it. It's for you to read. Please, regale us. Talk to You just read the bit I read.
Yeah, I did. That's great.
Talk to Transformer is a neural network thing where we always type in the name of our game and then is or are, depending on plural, and it just spins a yarn to us. Liz, please regale these microphones with your story.
Thank you to Adam King, who created this, much to our amusement every week. Galerians are about 3 metres across and have a diameter of 2 metres. It's like building a shelf. They have 5 legs. Why would you need an uneven number?
One's a tail.
Yeah. They're the largest members of the Asteridae family.
This is where you find out what Galerians actually were. You should have done the research on talktotransformer.com. Please continue.
They have large eyes and small legs, but 5 of them, to hold them in place on their feet and belly. The Galerians like to hunt in packs, foraging in small groups of up to 20. That's not a small group.
Yeah.
In fact, Galerians are also known to go after other Galerians in packs with a female. It's important to remember that Galerians are not shoe animals. They're animals.
Did you say shoe animals?
True animals.
Oh, shrew.
True.
Oh, true. Sorry, Jesus Christ.
They are animals that were hunted for their hide and meat. The Galerian is an alligator.
Whoa, that came out of nowhere.
An alligator with 5 legs, it seems.
And giant eyes.
And giant eyes. And
they roll mad deep in groups of 20. What?
They're intelligent animals that can learn. They make their own nests. They don't like to be hunted. Who does?
Who's going after 20 Galerian alligators?
5-legged alligators. In fact, Galerians have been known to escape predators on the hunt.
Good.
If they run into them, they'll attack them back, but they may flee for shelter and they'll get back to their nests. Galerians don't have any natural predators. They're also curious creatures. They prefer food which contains water. We have a good feeling that they're in the process of migrating south to find its mother.
It's.
A few years ago, I found out that the ancient extinct Galerians had died. That's the end.
Is that the end? Oh, good.
Oh, that was brilliant. I think that's one of my favourite ones, apart from the wet wipes one. That was incredible.
A pack of 20 five-legged...
big-eyed alligators that are migrating south to find their mother but are all dead.
Oh.
Who would have thunk it?
Okay, so, I can see what's happened here. I've just typed in Command & Conquer is...
And is it just telling you what the game is?
Kind of. But I think it's gotten a little bit confused with another popular franchise. So I'm going to read for you.
Conker's Bad Fur Day.
It's not that.
A squirrel crashes from space.
Yeah, and grows into Tiberium. Anyway, Command & Conquer is the first instalment of the Command & Conquer universe.
True.
With a total of 6 factions. False. Terran, Protoss, Orcs, Humans and Dwarves.
Oh.
I recognise some of them from Warcraft 2. These factions compete for resources using a complex military system. The first unit in the list is a massive armoured Orc vehicle called the Impulse Engine.
Oh, wow.
The vehicle has 4 high-speed rocket-propelled missiles that are launched from its rear and are capable of taking out units in a single shot.
Wow.
Why does it need to send 4 then? It has additional rocket booster that doubles its height and allows it to dive in and deliver its payload.
A rocket booster to double its height? What, like it fires rockets so it bounces itself up into the air? It pops up,
gives it a little 4-shot out of the arse, takes them out. I'm not reading that, I'm just assuming. Anyway, I'll carry on. Other units include a small ground assault army made up of soldiers and powerful armoured troop carrier called the Heavy Command Cruiser. The first unit type available in the game is an army composed entirely of orcs. They utilise the power abilities of 2 units known as warlords and sorcerers, while the others include a melee force called the Death Watch, that is made up entirely of orcs. In multiplayer, the orcs and their allies are referred to by their generic name units. Then there's just a heading that says, Commanders. When a player becomes a commander of an existing unit, they gain the following ability. However, the unit's own abilities are used when choosing the commander. What? The following units can be combined in order to create a new command unit. Commander's command unit effect a stalker unit that is mounted.
And then it ends.
That ends. I think that Chalk to Transformers got really excited about all of the strategy games from 95 to 2000.
Commander's command unit.
Smashed them all together. But thanks, Adam King. I appreciate
for that.
your work on that. And thank you, Liz, for joining me and being, I would only assume, destroyed by Command & Conquer.
I think Command & Conquer sounds great. I'm really disappointed that I looked at the front cover and thought, that's first-person shooter, that is no interest to me. And even when people say real-time strategy as well, I'm just kind of like, yeah, whatever's Trev's. And then hearing about it, I think I'd actually quite enjoy it.
Do you think, and I wondered about this, because it isn't like as mainstream as most other genres. Like there's not still like,
yeah, I think you're right.
There's not still big games coming out where you're like, oh, amazing. Like it's still evolving.
Big one, like Into the Breach was one that people went crazy about for
I love
the
Into the
Switch.
Breach.
Yeah, everyone says that's great.
It's a turn-based, tile-based. It's much more like. Did you have a Game Boy Advance?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then I was going to reference Advance Wars. That's the name, which is awesome. But just little pixelated, like turn-based shooter. But strategy games, yeah. I mean, that's a perfect example. Like you're hearing more about turn-based things, which preceded real time, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a gem. Recommend it. You can get it probably on DOSBox or on. You can definitely get it on Origin. And you can get Red Alert on Origin, which is also awesome.
Red Alert.
And I just have these fond memories of playing that and Red Alert over like 2 Christmases. And it was like my dad shouting at me to get off the computer. I'm like, I can't, it's so good. I'm not watching. What? Anyway.
I have fond memories of trying to explain to people why Galerians was so good and it not working.
Well, of course. It was only about half an hour ago.
No, just from, your Christmases of Command and Conquer, my Christmases of...
PlayStation.
Shouting about Galerians.
Yeah.
No one listening.
Well, perhaps you've listened and decided you'd like to vote for Liz's Galerians
please.
My Command and Conquer. So you can we'll release a poll in which you can vote on @FierceFeedback on Twitter.
Yes.
If we've forgotten anything, screwed up, or you just want to share your memories of Galerians or Command and Conquer, then you can write to us on fiercefeedback@Google Mail, aka gmail.com, and let us know what you think.
Yeah, that'd be dead good,
yeah.
wouldn't it? Thanks, Mr. Will Goldton.
Thanks, Liz. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.